Everyone. Welcome to the November edition of the DMI Advocacy Update. I'm Jason Elster, president of Downtown Madison Inc. Our Advocacy Update series gets us up to date on all things that are happening in downtown. And today we have a discussion on the greater downtown economic investment strategy, Envision Madison, the downtown strategy, with myself and Emily DeVore, our director of placemaking and economic development for DMI and for Destination Madison. Want to thank our partners on the Advocacy Update series, our major series sponsor, our friends at Sinair, also Hush Blackwell and the Fiore Companies. And we have Senior Vice President of Business Development from Sinair, Chris Gillings, with us here today. Chris, how are you?
I'm well, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing great. You ready for the holidays?
No, not at all. But we don't get that luxury. They come whether we're ready or not.
Did it feel like they came more quickly this year than normal?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I have no idea where the first 10 months of 2025 went to, but here we are. We sit in a couple days before Thanksgiving, and before you know it, it'll be holiday shopping season and Christmas beyond. So,
I probably should have already started that holiday shopping season because I'm
yeah.
a guy that literally does it like on November 22nd, 23rd. I'm like, Rachel, I gotta go. She's like, where are you going? And I like go to some random stores and get her stuff. So she knows exactly what I'm doing.
Me as well. Gail keeps me on schedule though, so I'm grateful for that.
How is everything at Sinair?
Good. It's uh, been an interesting year and a challenging year for a lot of folks, given uh, some of the economic headwinds that are hitting affordable housing. But we've been fortunate to have one of our best years ever in being able to secure capital, not only for markets like Madison and our other home markets around our footprint, but everywhere in our primary goal in housing. But as you well know, one of the things that we find most refreshing about sponsoring this program is we get to talk more broadly about a lot of the things that make communities healthy. And it's why we continue to be big fans of this series and are grateful for DMI shining spotlights on it in Madison and the work that you're doing, and particularly Emily with a lot of the work that she has been brought aboard to do to foster not only the placemaking piece but a lot of the economic inclusion that makes Madison perennially a tremendous place to live. It doesn't happen without work. It doesn't happen without planning and foresight. And I know even down to talking about some of the transit news that came out just this week. It's because of work that groups like DMI are doing that Madison remains a vibrant, inclusive place and a healthy community for all. So we're grateful to hear a little bit more about some of the landmarks you put up in 25 and some of the work that's coming in 2026.
Well, we're thankful for all the work that you do, Chris. I mean, you and the team at Sinair, just an outstanding partners in the community, doing so much work, particularly in housing, but in many other areas to build community, to make vibrant places for all of us. So thank you, Chris, for all you do, and hope you have a wonderful holidays.
Ditto, Jason, and everybody else out there on the podcast.
Fantastic. All right. We are in the section of our DMI update, things that are happening in the advocacy world. If you didn't know, just last week, Downtown Madison Inc. released our 2025 State of the Downtown Report. It's our 15th year of facts, figures, data on live, work, and play in Madison. We had a wonderful event at the Edgewater Hotel with a great panel discussion that is available for you all. We are thrilled with many of the numbers that we see again this year. There are some question marks and opportunities as well, but some of the positives we've seen over $325 million in new construction. We think that number is going to go up again this year. Tourism continues to be absolutely fantastic downtown with a record setting $327 million in economic spend in the downtown as part of 1.55 billion overall in the county. Those are record numbers in 2024, and we hope for new records in 2025. We talked about new construction. That means there's a lot new residents in the downtown. Over 6,200 new residents just since 2024, and 925 new apartment units opened just this summer. So we're going to continue to see significant new growth in the downtown. We also have a record number of total visits by anyone in the downtown at 9.4 million. And lastly, office. This is where we certainly are seeing some of the change that may not be as positive, but I think it allows for some opportunities. Vacancy rate is at 14.9%, and the number of employees is down to about 45,000. That is down about 5,000 from just a few years ago. We're seeing some state government employees and several other folks moving out of the downtown, but we have still a very vibrant office scene downtown, and we're seeing new companies come in, just not coming in as quickly as those that are leaving. So certainly an area to watch. Next up, Chris said it quickly in his update, but the city of Madison's team has recommended that the Monona Terrace and the area around the Monona Terrace in particular be the new home for potentially, fingers crossed, the new Amtrak train, an extension of the Hiawatha line from Milwaukee to Madison 4 times a day. That is an extension of the very successful Milwaukee to Chicago Hiawatha line. We hope that this happens. We're excited. There's some uncertainty, certainly at the federal government side, but we do hope that it happens. It would be great to get passenger rail service between our two communities, and hopefully we'll see even more in years to come. Transportation projects, certainly we have Regent Street, the big one happening in 2028, but the design is happening right now. So if you're interested in what the new design of Regent Street could look like, please participate in the public meetings. We should have one in the new year to discuss and get some early ideas of what could happen on Regent Street. This is a major thoroughfare with a lot of businesses on it, a lot of stakeholders, a lot of big organizations like UW, UW Athletics, UW Health, SSM, Meriter, to name just a few. Really important corridor for our city. Let's get this design right. So participate in that process when that happens again in the coming year. And speaking of the coming year, we're also going to have our next public meeting for the Mifflin and Carroll Plaza projects. The city continues to work on these important placemaking locations in the downtown. If you have interest in those, please make sure you get your voice heard in the new year as well. That's our update on advocacy here in DMI's world. Now, just going to continue to hear me talk, but we're going to introduce our good friend as well, who's going to help do this presentation with me on the Greater Downtown Economic Investment Strategy. We are so fortunate to have our not so new employee now, 1 year on the job, Emily DeVore, Director of Placemaking and Economic Development for DMI and Downtown Madison. How are you today, Emily?
Doing great, Jason.
Good. All right. We're going to talk about a first of its kind initiative, our downtown strategy. We've got a few slides for you all. Emily and I are going to go back and forth on this, and we're just going to ask questions of each other because normally it's just me asking questions. So I'll just ask myself questions, or Emily, you'll ask me questions, or you'll ask yourself questions. Which of the three do you want to do?
We can bounce back and forth.
You sure you don't want to ask yourself questions?
I think it's better when you actually talk to other people.
It probably is. It probably is. All right. Did you see that fancy animation on that slide? No, I had nothing to do with it. But this is our Greater Downtown Economic Investment Strategy. We talked about this a couple of times on this podcast, but we wanted to make sure to give a more thorough update as to what is happening with the Greater Downtown Economic Investment Strategy because this work has started in earnest. We are working with our partners at the City of Madison to create a, we believe, first of its kind public-private partnership, creating a long-term vision and plan for the downtown to create a viable, vibrant, sustainable, economically strong, equitable, inclusive downtown Madison. This will touch so many different areas and priorities, including public and private investment, programming activation, how we implement this plan. This is truly coordination and cooperation between us and the City of Madison to make this happen. This scope is quite large. We're looking at a lot of different items here. We want to create this coordinated plan on our side, including stakeholder engagement, and we'll include short and long-term actions and investment strategies to help leverage both those public and private relationships to create as strong of a downtown for the next 10 years as possible. This is a very forward-thinking initiative. We think we're one of only a handful of downtowns across the country that are coordinating and cooperating with our city on their downtown land use plan and the greater economic investment strategy. So we are really looking at doing something different. We are so honored and thankful to have several partners, including one of the nation's leading experts, MIG, leading this effort. Our great friends, amazing group, Vanderwall and Associates helping on the local side, incredible stakeholder engagement and outreach, community outreach led by Equity by Design. And we are so excited to add a new member of our team, Neo Partners out of St. Paul, that are helping do all of this planning work. We have the experts. The scope includes project management and coordination. We are now, before we started this project, we are in that existing conditions and gap analysis. We are doing deep dives in data with the City of Madison, with many private partners, many of those that are on this call. That'll create a framework for that strategy, which will make recommendations and talk about catalytic opportunities that we need here in the downtown. Very importantly, includes a sophisticated action plan. We want to create an implementable projects, I should say, from this plan. We don't want to just have another plan get dusty on the shelf. We want to do something different and actually make this happen. Of course, that includes documentation and adoption, and we've got significant community stakeholder engagement. You can see those deliverables. The City of Madison will have their own deliverable, the land use plan, the downtown plan. We will have our own deliverable as well. The goals of this project are quite important. It's really to understand and communicate the value of downtown to the entire city, region, and state. It's providing that data and stakeholder-driven inputs to update the downtown area plan, the city's plan. It's aligning those public and private interests to ensure that we have coordinated investment for the next decade or so of downtown. And it's together input and opportunities for that shared vision and create big moves amongst the organization. We also want to determine how to support and grow existing industries and potential new businesses that are coming in and new industries that help align with what we're doing now. We're going to set targets for that mix of development and that land use to make sure we're not too heavy on one or too heavy on the other. A successful downtown includes a very diverse downtown with the different users and usages that are happening. Would help create that mid and long-term economic sustainability and resiliency for all of those, and identifies those amenities and infrastructure projects that we need right now to help support the businesses we have, the employees, the residents, the tourists, but also those that are to come. We take our inspiration from many places, and very excited to have MIG, who's done many of these plans before, but we really look at several here, downtown Kansas City, Charlotte, Boulder, San Marcos, and our friends in San Antonio. This graphic says a lot, but it really says a tremendous amount about the coordination and cooperation between us and City of Madison here on Envision Downtown. The area on the top in orange is our plan, the downtown strategy that DMI and many partnering organizations are working on, including Madison Central Business Improvement District, the Chamber, Destination Madison, just to name a few. We're in that early part, that foundational analysis, where we're doing deep data dives, looking at what's going on. That helps us generate our economic investment goals and objectives, those strategies and recommendations, and of course, then there'll be finalization of the report. On a parallel track at the bottom in blue is the City of Madison's downtown plan update that was last done over a dozen years ago. They're going to begin, as we are now, with that data dive. We're working on that together, and you can see those lines going in between it. We're sharing data as we speak. But they're also going to review the current land uses, look at the downtown area goals and objectives, make some policies and recommendations, create an implementable strategy, and then they have finalization in 27. Ours will be finalized in late 26. But you can see in the middle is the green area, where we're going to be looking at shared vision and big moves. How can we do this work together? How can we create potentially, something new on State Street? How can we make sure that the Lakeway project gets implemented? All of these key projects and new catalytic projects we haven't even thought of here today. So we're so excited. Our friends, led by Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway, Matt Wachter, Matt Mikolajewski, Megan Tuttle, Rebecca Kinnear, and Dan McCullough, have done excellent work on our city side in this project. Now, this is not a cheap project, so we're raising money for this, and we're doing quite well on the private side. The private side is paying for the vast majority of this work. About $150,000 came from Tax Increment District 50, which is State Street in the downtown. But the vast majority of it is coming from our private partners. All right, that partnership includes something that we're going to help create, something new. We're going to look at the governance of the downtown and work with our partners at Madison's Central Business Improvement District, the Regent Street Group, Capiz Business Association, potentially WUMBA, the Williamson Marquette Business Alliance, and the Downtowners. How can we work together on these projects? This is a lot of work that we are working on right now that Emily DeVore is a huge part of. Emily, what makes you most excited about the Greater Downtown Economic Investment Strategy?
Great question. I am excited about the collaborative effort between DMI and the whole downtown strategy team of consultants, and as you listed, the Chamber and Destination Madison in the bid, partnering with the city. I think we're really excited about not only what this is going to lead to in terms of a shared foundation of data that's going to inform the downtown area plan in a really robust way, but also what it can lead to in the future. I mean, the plan is going to come out with all these strategies, and ultimately, in order to do these strategies, we need really strong partnerships between public and private entities, or we just can't actually implement them in the long run. So I think we're setting ourselves up, and I think the city agrees, which is why they're in this to really be successful to make this happen over the next 10 years.
What is the power in that unique partnership that, you and I went to the International Downtown Association conference, what, about 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago in Washington, D.C. And we sort of shopped this idea around that we were working on an investment strategy plus the city's downtown plan together. And people went, wow, that is an interesting idea. Why do you think it's such a unique model? And why is it so important for the success of our plan, the downtown strategy?
Mm. Yeah, that's a great question. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on the sessions that you attended to. But I think
Are
it's
you
unique
kicking your
because
question right
one,
back at me? I like that,
not
though.
yet, not yet. After I answer. Um, no, I think that it's unique because it's harder. I think most things that are hard are better in the long run, but I think that especially for, I mean, Madison does an awesome job. The city does an awesome job on their planning exercises, but ultimately they have limited capacity, as does everyone, and they only do, I shouldn't say only, they do an economic development strategy for the city as a whole, but as we know, greater downtown area is a huge economic hub. I mean, on our website, project website, which we can post for people to go to and learn more information, we talk about how the downtown makes up only 1% of the city's land area, but it produces over 10% of the tax base and houses 10% of the population, employs over 50,000 people. So ultimately, I think to do a more specific analysis, especially with experts of the consultants that we've hired when they've done this type of work across the country, to really understand the economy downtown and how that impacts the whole city and the whole region. To have that kind of data inform the city's update to their land use plan is going to be really powerful. And then I think I lost my next train of thought. How about you? What do you think?
I mean, look, I think it is highly important to work together with the public side of this work, right? I mean, if you just look at State Street itself, an area that I think could use some investment, it's only going to happen if we get both the public and the private right? Because the public is the right of way, right? They have the sidewalks, the terraces, the road, all the benches, the trees, all the rest. But a lot of the vibrancy then comes from the businesses that are a part, or the buildings, the residents that are part of that street. And so, how do we stimulate those private side folks to do even more to make sure we have the right storefront mix, that we're working with our friends at Madison Central Business Improvement District to get that right. But we also have the right infrastructure on the city. I mean, that's just but one example of where, I think true placemaking happens when you do it all together. This is an exercise that has been hard at times, but it has been absolutely the right thing to do. And to know that we have the commitment from the highest leaders of the city through the mayor and some of the highest leaders in their respective departments, I think it's going to be a very fruitful activity. It's going to mean the downtown is going to be better for everyone. Talk about the placemaking side of this, Emily. It's a relatively new term, and I think I've thrown it around a little bit in the presentation over the last few minutes. But how do you define placemaking, and what's placemaking's role in this greater downtown economic investment strategy?
Yeah, I think placemaking has a few ways you can define it, but at its broadest sense, it's about how we're connecting the physical environment to people and how people find meaning in their physical environment and the ways that we can kind of organize our physical environment through design or programming or other aspects to help people find meaning. And downtown, is a particularly special place for this because our population is huge. It's really dense. We have all of these awesome events like our arts and culture events that happen on Capitol Square, like concerts on the square, art fair on the square. And, a lot of the vibrancy of our public realm, especially in downtown, where people are walking and biking and where businesses bleed out onto the streets, where we have our streetery programs from restaurants. all of that is a part of what makes our local economy thrive. And the more that we can create those kind of vibrant spaces, both public and private, the more people we can drive downtown, the more it's going to drive people into businesses downtown. And I will say for this strategy, MIG and Vanderwall and our other consultants are doing a really awesome job of making this economic strategy very place-based. We actually had a number of our interns, as you know, Jason, our policy researchers, going around block by block doing observations of things like what's the transparency, aka how much glass is on the facade of these buildings, because that impacts people's experience on the street, walking and biking by, right? It impacts how likely they are to go into these businesses. So they're looking at things like that. They're looking at how easy and accessible it is to walk on sidewalks, what kinds of street furniture like benches and lighting exist in the greater downtown. So they're looking at all these facets so that our consultants can really map in layers all of these components that make great places, because we know that great places help drive a good economy and a thriving economy.
Drives great places is a whole series of different users, right? We talked about it before. You want to have a lot of residents, you want to have a lot of workers, including office workers, but workers in hospitality, whatever field that looks like. A lot of visits to the downtown from folks that live in Fitchburg or the west side of Madison, east side of Madison, whatever that looks like. But tourism. Tourists are quite important to successful downtown. And I think one of the key areas and important areas to make sure that we're working to make the strongest downtown possible to attract tourism. You are in a very unique position. We think one of the only directors of placemaking across the country that actually is shared between the Convention and Visitors Bureau, Destination Madison, and ours, and the place management organization like ours at DMI. Talk to us about why you think it's so important that that partnership happens with your position, but why tourism is so important for the downtown, but also for this economic investment strategy.
Great question. Well, for starters, the position is really interesting and valuable because I think there's a lot of overlapping networks and a lot of overlapping projects within downtown and the region that both Destination Madison and DMI are very involved in. And having myself, who can be at these meetings and be in these relationships with people and see it from both lenses, where DMI is really focused on the downtown as a geography, whereas Destination Madison is more the region, but also DMI focuses on, businesses, residents, and Destination Madison can focus on tourism. So I think having both of those lenses with the overlap is really helpful. And for this strategy in particular, it's beneficial because one of the six major industries that we're analyzing is tourism. It has a huge impact on our downtown and our region, especially the growth in leisure tourism, as we heard in the State of the Downtown last week. Madison is kind of blowing up across the nation, which is really exciting for us. And we know that the more we can drive visitors here through either work travel and group travel, through conferences, or through leisure travel, so your everyday resident or person who's going to come and visit downtown, drives a lot more business into those stores and than we could do ourselves as residents. And we have some really awesome information and stats around how the visitor spending that comes into our region actually helps support a lot of our services that your average resident would be paying hundreds of dollars per year, in addition to what they're already paying in taxes to support the kinds of services we get, because so much of that money is actually coming from the sales tax and other hotel revenue that visitors bring into our economy. And really, in Madison, especially with the size of city and region we are, a lot of the visitation we're seeing is downtown. And while we try and promote other areas of the city, and we will hope to grow that in the future, I think downtown is always going to be a core. It's where our head of the government is. It's the universities downtown. State Street, our biggest pedestrian mall, is downtown. And we've got really awesome projects, really catalytic projects coming up downtown with the Wisconsin History Center, hopefully future Veterans Museum, and the Madison Lakeway, which are going to fundamentally change the physical environment downtown, and I think bring a lot more tourism there.
As someone that's helping lead the greater downtown economic investment strategy for us here at DMI on the private side, but you're also working significantly with the city of Madison on their downtown plan, which is a land use plan. Explain to folks who may not understand the importance of a land use plan. I mean, you sort of hinted at it right at the end of your answer there, talking about how much growth, sort of, downtown being one of the centers of our community. We're seeing a lot of development happening here. Why is it important that we get this land use plan right? And really, what is it at its base? And why is it important to work on this combined effort with us here at the Greater Downtown Economic Investment Strategy?
Yeah, so the city's downtown plan, the last one that was created was in 2012, and a lot has changed in that time, obviously. So it's going to be fun to embark on this process where we get to kind of reflect, or the city gets to reflect, and will be in parallel process kind of in these public meetings, but the city gets to reflect along with its residents on the successes of the goals we put forward in that last plan over the last 10 years, what's happened, what's gone well, how have we progressed, and then moving forward in the next 10 years, what are we projecting in terms of growth, which is going to be huge. And as the city grows to that extent, as downtown grows to that extent, how do we make sure that, for example, our land use patterns, our zoning policies, all of those things are still allowing for the right type of projects and developments that we need to see to help the economy thrive, to help resident quality of life stay really high? And how do we make sure that the infrastructure, anything from roads and fiber optic perhaps to parks and other critical infrastructure, to make sure that those kinds of key pieces of economy, quality of life, stay as high as they are now? I think we're really lucky in Madison with our sort of small town feel, but big city amenities. But we're going to have a lot of population growth and a lot of economy growth, and a lot of that is centered downtown. So, how do we make sure that as we, for example, continue to add a younger population that's going to be renting a lot of apartments, most likely, how do you make streets even more walkable? Because they're not going to have the ability to have cars, right? It's not always affordable. There's not always space to have everyone have a car. So what's our transit network look like? How are people getting into and out of downtown if they're either living or working there and not vice versa? And all of those kinds of key infrastructure pieces are really critical. And that's what the city's land use plan can do. And on the other side of that, I think, there are levers that the city doesn't have as much or any control over. And that's why we see this as such an exciting opportunity to partner, because our economic investment strategy is really going to think through how we want the economy to progress and where the city has levers to allow that to happen or promote that to happen, but also where on the private side can we create incentives to make sure that we're adding jobs, that we're creating a larger tax base, and just keeping that economy growing, where we're having big institutional industries continue to make their home here, as well as supporting that kind of local and inclusive economy with small businesses.
Final question. There are a couple of outcomes from the Greater Downtown Economic Investment Strategy that you would like to see. I'm not telling you to put your thumb on the scale, which you're the one working on it, but are there some things that you think we should be doing to make sure that downtown remains economically strong, vibrant, equitable, inclusive, and vibrant for everybody? I said vibrant twice, doubly vibrant. Maybe people think that about me already. But are there a couple of outcomes that you would love to see from this plan?
Hmm. Well, I mean, I think overarchingly, we're trying to find three big outcomes or strategies out of our economic investment strategy side of it, which is the three prongs are the economic development strategy itself, the funding strategy. So, how are we actually going to make this happen financially? And then a governance strategy of how do we have all of these parties, public and private, work together to make these strategies happen? So, I think those things are at absolute baseline the most key, because they're going to make it possible. But from a strategies perspective, I think it's really exciting to think about. MIG is going to be putting together, based on all of the economic analysis, they're going to be putting together a list of catalytic projects, a small handful of sites around greater downtown where there's the most potential to have a higher and better use of our land because we have very limited resources. And I think the exciting part for me about that is they're going to be thinking not only about what types of industries and businesses and uses should go into those catalytic projects, into those land projects, but they're also going to be thinking about um, the sense of place that is created. So when you're thinking about where a plot of land is located in greater downtown, how do you think about its interconnectivity with other things and the uses of the adjacent pieces of land so that you're understanding at the core what is the experience of the human in the city and how do we make that experience as positive as possible? And part of that is a thriving economy, but also there's a lot of these physical components that are really important to consider to make that experience good.
Emily DeVore, Director of Placemaking and Economic Development for Destination Madison and DMI person helping lead this project on a day level. Thank you for all you're doing for the downtown. Thank you for answering our questions. We really appreciate it, Emily.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. This was great.
Well, you know
Oh,
what? Oh, yes, please. Oh,
last
wait, we
plug.
do have something else for you. I almost forgot the biggest. How do people get in? How could I have forgotten that? How do people get involved? That's the question I would ask myself, Emily. How do people get involved?
Excellent question. So up here on the screen right now is our webpage that you can find easily when you go to Downtown Medicine Inc.'s website. There's a big button at the top that says Downtown Strategy, and this webpage can give you more details on how to stay involved, including public events, signing up for email updates for the project, and it links out as well to the city's project page. So there are two separate pages. There's the DMI Downtown Strategy page here and there is a city downtown area plan page. But we're both in coordination with each other, and we are hosting our first public kickoff event on December 2nd, just over a week away. And that's going to be a hybrid meeting located in the Madison Concourse Hotel and via Zoom. So if you plan to attend either of them, which we encourage you to do, please register. It's going to be a really great event where DMI, our consultants, the city staff are all going to be present to talk about the background and goals of the project. But we really want to hear from the community about what your future desires and goals and visions are for the downtown.
Emily, remember when I had one job to do in this podcast, in this advocacy update, was to remind people and tell people about the December 2nd event, how they can get involved, and I didn't even do that.
We got there.
You got me there. Emily, thank you for joining us. And I'm also going to say thank you to me because I was one of the presenters as well. I just think I did such a great job, don't you?
You did. Thank you, Jason,
That
and
was
for
more of
all
a
your work
rhetorical question,
on the
but thank you
downtown
for it.
strategy. You've been
Thank you.
working on this downtown strategy and setting it up and fundraising for years, well before my position was created. So thank you for your effort on that and creating the foundation for this project.
That is very nice of you. And thank you, Emily, again for all you do. And thank you for joining us for our November DMI Downtown Advocacy Update. We hope to see you downtown many times this holiday season. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for all your support. Have a great day now.